All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's start that conversation and be giving you, touching base with our reporters on the ground in Kiambaa to give you the latest there. It was a neck-and-neck race. In fact, that is what all the dailies are talking about. Let me introduce my guest in studio really fast. Honorable Kimani Kuria is here, Member of Parliament for Molo. Asante sana for making time. Didmas Baraza, Member of Parliament Kimilili, is still waiting for him. He might show up or he might not. Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, Women Rep Migori, is joining us online in just a bit as well to delve into this conversation. But we'd like to hear from you. At Trevor Mbiji at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Daybreak. But let's bring in Kimani. Is this the litmus test for 2022 in your view?
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone watching us today. I would say Kiambaa by-election was a learning moment. And for by-election that had less than a 50% voter turnout, for a by-election where the two main rivals, that is Jubilee and UDA, for example, we had even key members and key leaders of Jubilee Party saying that Jubilee Party was already dead. And then they pulling such a show at such a last moment actually shows that 2022 is not going to be easy for whichever side. There's a lot of to learn, there's a lot of things to learn. We saw a lot of voter mobilization. We saw a lot of preparation of both sides in terms of considering that some of them even had parallel tallying centers. We had a lot of the reporting on this. I think this was also very highly media covered by-election, and so there's a lot to learn. And I don't think that it is necessarily a show of how 2022 is going to be, because remember, a day in politics is too long. Yeah. A day in politics is too long. If probably this by-election was held a month or two ago, then you would have seen a completely different scenario. And I dare say also that if this election is held tomorrow or next week, then you're going to see a completely different scenario. So there's a lot to learn, and it will be very key to see how each of these political alignments learn from the lessons from this Kiambaa by-election.
Yeah, do you think this poll now shows that the Deputy President William Ruto and President Uhuru Kenyatta are equal in terms of popularity in the Mount Kenya region?
I think it would be very unfair to say that that for example, the Jubilee candidate is Uhuru Kenyatta and the UDA candidate is William Ruto, because remember, I'll give you an analysis of both of them. The Kareri Njamba candidate in the Jubilee the Jubilee candidate has been there for quite some time. And you saw now a lot of wiping of emotions in terms of even the branding that the UDA team did. I spent some time at the by-election, just listening to people, and you could hear the message was different. People were voting for completely different reasons. There are people who were going to vote for the Jubilee candidate because they believed in him as a person, because they said Kareri Njama was a good candidate by himself. There are very many others that were voting for Kawanjiko in a bid to punish the current regime. So you had people saying that the cost of cooking gas has gone up, and therefore, because the cost of gas has gone up, because there's an introduction of tax on cooking gas, then they're going to vote in a UDA candidate, because UDA seem to be as an opposition candidate and punish Jubilee. So it does not necessarily mean, to me, it may not necessarily amount to a showdown between the president and the deputy president.
But what about the voter apathy? And you were in Kiambaa. What are the reasons they were talking about? You said that they were talking about the voting for the person and the increase in cooking gas and taxes and all that. But do you see like they were voting for themselves, or are they voting for party lines?
I think the by-election in Kiambaa was not a party line issue. It was not really a party line issue. It was about a manifestation of either the happiness they have with the government or the disappointment that they have. So we found different kinds of people voting for completely different reasons. I'll give you an example. There's some that said, no, Kareri Njama is a very good candidate. He has been here with us. He has been supporting initiatives. He's not just coming because of the political seat. And some were saying, no, Kawanjiko is just coming here for the politics. And people were saying that, fine, we are disappointed in this government. Some would say that. So it was not really a party line issue, I must say. It was about the two candidates and both sides. And also, the reason why I dare also say that may not necessarily be a showdown to 2022, to another point, to the issue that you raised a little earlier. We found the entire machinery of both Jubilee and UDA focused in one by-election. And you'll find in the next election is that they're going to have 290 constituency MPs elections. So you're not going to find that kind of concentration by whichever party, because you'll see on one side, you see even the leader of majority, leading the Jubilee side. You saw the likes of Honorable Moses Kuria, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, leading on the other side. In the next election, they both will be busy running
their own campaigns.
Their own campaigns. Yeah. So trying to equate this as a political muscle contest between Jubilee and UDA, or between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, is very inaccurate. It's very, very inaccurate.
Do you think Jubilee is dead, though?
If Jubilee were dead, then the kind of neck-to-neck competition you've seen would not be there. Yeah. But I would say it was a lot of, not even teething problems, but there was a lot of realignments that were being done. There are people who, remember, like even all these candidates that were campaigning for the UDA candidate, for example, are Jubilee members of parliament. They pay their subscription to Jubilee party. They are Jubilee MPs who are voting, who are campaigning for a UDA candidate. But now saying that they moved from their party and went and formed sort of a different party, although they say that had a coalition with Jubilee, and we see Jubilee pulling this. We saw Jubilee winning Mogoga what? Then anybody thinking that Jubilee is dead has to really reconsider what they have been able to pull in the last few days. And remember, the conversation, and again, Trevor, I say here, if this election was held a month ago, then we would have had a completely, totally different results. We had everybody saying, even Jubilee now, Jubilee is dead, let us fold up. Then it's like, no, let's rebrand. We have, like for example, there was not even that debate on the slogan. Should red remain our party colors? Should be the Tuko Pamoja slogan and party symbol still be our party symbol? But even with that, Jubilee was able to pull this. So I think Jubilee still has a very high chance if they're able to just put the house in order, go back, rethink, replan. I think that Jubilee is a party to watch.
And Jubilee MPs, some of them have been campaigning for UDA members of parliament. What are your thoughts on this? Should they resign and seek a fresh mandate?
It's good to give credit where it's due, and the UDA people, or led by the deputy president, have been very crafty and smart, I would say, because they went for a party that had a pre-signed agreement with the Jubilee party. So if you would follow the law, or if you really follow, or if you really go to the Political Parties Act, then there's nothing wrong in supporting a candidate in the same coalition. And that's why even the crackdown that has been on members of parliament, it has been difficult to do it for these candidates that are, for the members of parliament that are supporting a UDA candidate, because a UDA candidate, because they found a flaw. They found a party that already had an agreement with the Jubilee party, and so it legally then becomes difficult to punish these people. And so I don't say that they have to resign because they're supporting a political party within the Jubilee coalition. It's, for example, if you go to like on the other, if I was to give the NASA side, if you have an ODM candidate supporting an ANC candidate, whichever, then considering that this NASA agreement was filed with the Register of Political Parties before the next election, then you would not chase them away and say that they're supporting a different candidate.
But did you see, you on the ground, are you sensing some kind of voter apathy? 96,000 registered voters, only about 40,000 showed up.
Certainly, but you have to also remember that yesterday was a working day. Yeah. And so there are very many people who would not ordinarily fail to and remember, this is Kiambaa constituency is a constituency within Kiambu County and very close to the city. And so you'll find most of the people that do vote in Kiambaa, for example, they come to work in Westlands every morning, they come to work in Lavington every morning, they come to work in the CBD every morning. And it's not everyone who has leave days, for example, that they would say that I'm taking this day off to go and vote. And therefore, it being a by-election, it being a weekday, a working day, in, say, a generally Kikuyu constituency, you'll find most people from that ethnic community may not necessarily close their businesses if it's not a really public holiday to go and actually vote. So the voter apathy that we saw at Kiambaa by-election may not translate to the same in the main election, because remember, a voting day in a general election is usually a public holiday.
All right. that makes it different there. But let's see what you're saying also. I'm trying to get Dr. Pamela Odhiambo. We got a women rep on phone. Do we have her already to get her views on this? As soon as she comes up, we will definitely have that. But even what you've seen so far and the arrangement between Jubilee, ODM, and now there's the crack in between. Are you seeing a merger between Jubilee and ODM yourself from an insider's perspective?
That conversation, according to our party officials, is ongoing. But there is a lot at stake. There is a lot to think about. There is a lot to listen to the ground. And I said there is also a lot to learn even from the current by-election that was happening. Because, for example, if you had an agreement between Jubilee and ODM, and therefore then, because Jubilee doesn't seem to have a particular party candidate for the presidential election now, and they made the Honorable Raila Odinga as a party candidate, the question is, would Raila Odinga sell in the Jubilee strongholds? And I think that is something that the Jubilee party must really consider, because I think that would be the greatest challenge. But if they were now to prove, therefore, that then Raila Odinga can be sold to the people of the mountain, the Jubilee strongholds, then it would be good for ODM. But I think they also have to be careful, so that, and one of the things that I think if I were Raila Odinga, I would really think about is what would be the benefit of it? What will you get from it? And I'm sure also Jubilee will trying to find out what would ODM bring? Was it going to be to burden them more, or is it going to even ease their winning of the next election? So all this mathematics and all this research, I think, in my view, it should be ongoing. And if it's not, then somebody should really be asking the people, is this doable? And if then it is, then possibly it could work. But as you speak, then there is a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Is it doable in your own assessment? You've been on the ground in the Mount Kenya region. You know what the thinking of the people there are.
I would say a day in politics is too long. We saw in the, for example, in 2007, how like Uhuru Kenyatta was not seeing eye to eye with Mwai Kibaki, was not seeing eye to eye with Raila Odinga, and then 5 years later it was completely different, and 2013 was entirely different. When we went to the polls in 2017. Nobody would imagine that there would be a fallout between the president and the deputy president. And then probably like a year later, then you're like, is this happening? Most of us are like, is this really happening? Is this really happening? Yeah. So I would say we have a whole year to election, and there's a lot to see. There's a lot to wait and see. Yeah.
You mentioned a fallout. From the insider circles, what really is the problem between the deputy president and the president?
You know, one of the things that I say, Trevor, when you see your parents fight, you go and sleep. When they start fighting again tomorrow morning, go and sleep. So I think we have not had this clear from either the president or the deputy president. So I don't know, whatever problems they have, I think they would be the best people to tell us this. But I would also say the president has publicly said that the deputy president went and, like, instead of waiting to be passed on the baton, he went back to get the baton. And probably that would be the biggest reason for the fallout. Because I think President Uhuru Kenyatta, although he has indicated that he does not want to extend his term, but I think he still wants to maintain a grip of his voter bracket. And to also add up to that, the current Jubilee government was, if you remember, was sort of a formation between URP and TNA. And URP was the deputy president's sort of party, and TNA was Uhuru Kenyatta's sort of party. And when they came, there was a division of government. They're like, you probably take this ministry, take this ministry, take this ministry. And so I think, in my opinion, is if, say, William Ruto had around 50% stake in Uhuru's government, then wouldn't then the expectation be that then Uhuru also would have a 50% stake in Ruto's government. And I think that is the elephant in the house. So would William Ruto have that conversation with the president? Yeah. Are they willing to sit down and agree? But again, maybe they will, maybe they don't. But in my thinking, because like you have tried to wonder what exactly went wrong, That they may say, no, there has been corruption allegations against the deputy president. But again, I have said, I have not seen the deputy president being aligned in court himself and being told, no, there are these corruption allegations against you. So I would think fundamentally is about governing. This was our government. So do I have a stake in your government? And if you would follow the tribal or ethnic mathematics, it is we have these ministries are controlled by these particular ethnic communities. And even you see, even with the replacement, for example, when there has been a replacement of, say, the agriculture minister, before it was the Honorable Kyunjuri, then after Kyunjuri there was Honorable Munya, supposedly coming from a particular region. So I think that's a question. So what happens to the next government? Who will be heading what? And I think that's what also the Deputy President has craftily avoided and said, no, it's no longer about the ethnic communities. It's not about whether you are Kikuyu or a Kalenjin or a Luo heading a particular ministry, but making sure that the correct or the correct or the right thing is being done. On whether or not then that will happen in the next in his government, again, is a question that people are asking. And for example, when you're talking about the ethnic line, people have asked, if we have a Kalenjin and a Luo and a Kalenjin, a Kikuyu and a Luo, who are all competent for the same position, they all interview for the same position, and they say get 90%, all of them for the same position, then who would you pick? And how does that reflect from the communities from the political base that these people will come from? Because remember, even the formation of government and the executive is a political process. Yeah. So you want people that have a political appeal to the people. So if, for example, we were to replace, if for example, for some reason we were to replace the Honorable Munya as the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, and there were 3 qualified positions. We had a Luya, we had a Kalenjin, we had a Luo, and we had a Kikuyu. Then, how does picking any of those affect the politics of this government? Yeah. And so the reality is that we're still at a point where we look at, is this someone from my community or not? So qualifications said, if all these 3 candidates are equally qualified for the job, then the person you pick has a political dimension to it. And I think these are all the mathematics and the thinking that's being done by either side.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Pamela Odhiambo on this. And Dr. Pamela is joining us on phone now. She's the Migori Women Representative. Dr. Pamela, do you think this is the litmus test for what's to come in 2022, the Kiambaa by-elections?
Not really. I have always seen and heard people talk of this litmus test. And to me, it is important to note that a by-election is somehow unique in the sense that, like yesterday, we only had that one in Kiambaa and the other ward. All the machineries of the participating parties are geared there. And so even if you look at the records that we have, 20,401 votes against 20,057 votes, I think that person who won there should be a very worried person, because when we get to 2022 and defending their seats and everybody else is out there running for their own lives and looking for their own votes and they are left on their own, I wonder whether this is any significant defeat that you can bank on. But I think, again, the phrase litmus test, I really don't think that any of these by-elections should be looked at in that manner, because unless it is clear to us, why should it be litmus? This imagined testing of might between the leaders of the party, sometimes what affects the voting pattern is very different, and therefore I wouldn't call this a litmus test. I really want to reiterate and alert Kenyans that come 2022, even what we are seeing now shall have changed. However, we are dealing with a population that is now getting more aware, and by the end of the day, what they will be voting for is still yet to be determined. And so just imagining that this is a litmus paper test for what is to come in 2022, I really don't think we could be accurate to say so. I think the most accurate thing to do, even as we go to 2022, for anybody who is going to, for any electoral post, we need to reanalyze the ground. There are very many people who did not vote in this. I think I had a bit of your conversation over the phone, and there was this analogy of the 96,000 votes against the 40. So we don't have a whole sweeping over 50,000 votes here. And the question is, what would be the verdict of these 50,000 if they came into the game? So I think let us celebrate whoever has won, and let us celebrate the fact that this by-election went on peacefully. And let's congratulate the winner. But I don't think I would want to give this winner confidence that now he has won this by-election, so he will be an automatic winner in 2022. And
Dr. Pamela, just the simple fact that UDA has put on such a strong show, isn't that something that in the president's own backyard, someone can step up to the game and put on such a big show?
I think there are two things here. I want to give you an analogy of a firstborn and a secondborn, now that I have some. Usually, when you have these two sons or daughters in the house, you'll always find that the younger one is always struggling very hard to beat the first one, even in areas where the first one is much better. Much as this place is the president's backyard, I think it is also important to note the kind of what you are calling putting up an effort. Much of it, if you talk to these people of Kiambu, there was a lot of money also involved, and the concentration of all the people there. And so it is fine, there is that spirited fight, but I think what I'm saying is that I'm not dismissing whatever efforts they made, but I'm saying in 2022, this effort, which was concentrated only there, will have to be divided all over Kenya if the UDA's presidential ambition is anything to go by, and it will not produce the same results everywhere. So that is what I'm saying. But otherwise, I'm saying we celebrate all of them. We celebrate the efforts of both the Jubilee and the UDA. And being the presidential backyard, this time round, these guys were not voting for the president per se. They were voting for an MP replacing another MP. And the factors that could have informed their voting pattern, even as the president was still in power. You know, there is also this feeling that, the president is outgoing, so he might not have as much say in what we want as Kiambu people then. Which is sometimes right and sometimes may be wrong, because the fact that somebody has led us for all those years, I think we have a wrong notion in Kenya that that person, once they exit the office, they are now useless. If we could go by what I see in other countries, when they would even cherish leaders who are already out of the office, and think that they have still some valuable ideas and point of reference. In Kenya, we have made political leadership some game of enmity, which is not right. I think, Trevor, I am not very much persuaded that being the president's backyard, that time round they were voting for Paul Koinange, and this time round they are voting for some other people.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I want to really root that it is a big, big thing. Yes, it is a big thing in the sense that they participated, competed, and we get a winner and we get some sort of loser. But I think I would like to leave it at that.
Okay. But also, what do you make of this Jubilee MPs campaigning for UDA candidates?
It is a wonder, because I think I had my colleague who is with you in the session say that Jubilee made some agreement with the UDA party as an affiliate. I really want to say that individuals may have rights to support whoever they want to support. But then it is also confusing because I think the major agreement that came was to elect the president and all his cohort on a Jubilee ticket. All these parties were somehow disbanded. So they failed to exist on their own. And that is why, as at the onset of 2017, there was nobody, much as they were in agreement, there was nobody who was elected in UDA or TNA or URP or BAS. They were all elected as Jubilee candidates. And therefore, according to me, if we were to go by the rule of the law and party laws, I think it is not right that somebody would ditch their own party and then support another party, because as we sit here today, UDA is not operating as an affiliate party of Jubilee per se, but its own outfit that they are luring everybody to get out of Jubilee and follow them for the presidential candidate and any electoral post in come 2022. So I think the honorable thing that I would want to say, and I've said it before, is that all these people who are enjoying themselves in the name of Jubilee MPs, but denying the very party that brought them to parliament, to some extent, I think they are not right, even though we try to look for justifications here and there. Liken this to the case of NASA, I think everybody was aware that in 2017, the major collusion for NASA was in the presidency. And we all supported the same presidential candidate. But if you came down even in Nairobi there, you saw areas where ODM fielded their candidates and Wiper, for example, fielded candidates. And they fought and won. Well, much as I thought it was also some undoing for us in a way, by way of reducing the strength of individual parties in the parliament, and it's something that I would not really advocate for. But for the case of Jubilee, it was different. They disbanded all those small parties and fielded all candidates on Jubilee tickets. So coming up now to say now, oh, we can go this way because we had some agreement. The agreement was to disband the party. It was not to make the party stand alone. And you know, there were many other parties. Why haven't we seen these other parties raise their candidates and also field them there? So I think it is some witty game, and this is why I've said sometimes as leaders, some of us have failed the test of integrity, even in the political belief and ideology. Because much as somebody may say that people are not happy with Uhuru Kenyatta and all this, but you see, the same deputy is Uhuru Kenyatta. I see a very thin line between Ruto, the deputy president, and Uhuru Kenyatta, the president. This thing tie them together, and just jumping out to say that now, oh, I feel I'm not wanted here, so I want to do things the way I like, and I'm still the deputy. This is treachery of its own kind, and it is something that I don't think I would appreciate.
Okay. Let's take a quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back, I'll take a bit of your feedback and also continue the conversation here. Honorable Kimani Kuria is still with me in studio, Member of Parliament for Molo. Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, Women Rep for Migori, is joining us on phone. We're still talking about the litmus test in Kiambaa. Is it not? We'll see from what you're saying. I see Wabwire here. I'll read your tweet right after this break.